Alaikum. Hello and welcome, bonjour to my channel. And today I have a very special guest, Emil and he's a natural health practitioner. He's a nutri-therapist. He's someone who practices radionics, and he follows the principles of Taoism. He has his own homegrown vegetables. He knows the effect of food on body. And as a person, I know him to be humble, down to earth, intuitive, emotionally intelligent, and someone who knows what he does. So, hello and welcome, Emil.
Good morning.
Good morning. How do you feel about it today, coming to my channel?
Yeah, I feel great. Thanks. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. And firstly, we just want to know a little bit about radionics, how it works, and the history of radionics, and just a brief introduction.
So radionics uses principles of basically there's an instrument involved. It was created by Dr. Abrams around the turn of the 19th century. And he was a neurologist. He was head of American Medical Association, British Medical Association, and he was quite wealthy. So what he did was tried to go into areas that helped people on a deeper level than what he was used to. And being wealthy, he could do whatever he wanted. And so he went to Britain and Germany, learned German, and he was a percussionist for dealing with people's issues. So what he found was people with cancer, as you tap the chest or the lower abdomen, it will resonate. There will be a percussion sound to it. But if there was a cancer or tuberculosis or other issues, it would be a very dull sound. So he learned that if people are facing north and east, it may have a dull sound, but when you go east and west, it will not. So being intuitive, he went deeper into that area of research using percussion. And yeah.
So how do you apply radionics to pathology, and how do you really diagnose? Are you able to diagnose, or it's just you can find out about any foreign material or foreign bodies in the body, and just how does it work there?
So you'll find there's different rates that were involved through further research done with Abrams and others. So with a certain rate, you could check the vitality of any of the organs and tissues in the body. And then from there, you could use the rates of different pathologies or parasites, bacterias, viruses, whatever. And then that's how the diagnosis comes. So using the radionics machine, there'll be a dialing done to see the vitality of a pathology, for instance, in the liver or circulatory system, whatever they're looking at.
Right. So you can differentiate whether it's a good bacteria, microbiome in the gut, or it's a pathological bacteria. Okay.
Yeah. So with experience, you would know what would balance in the body, and if there is something out of hand or something missing. So it won't tell you if it's good or bad. You'll have to know, but there will be a rate for all the different bacterias, for instance. So you'll get to make a worksheet where you can analyze what's in the body.
Right. So can you share a specific case or success story where radionics played a significant role in achieving positive outcomes?
So for the human body, many instances of, well, I'll give you a psychological example. There's a lady that fell down and hurt herself. She twisted her ankle, and within weeks, she ended up in a wheelchair. This is in Alberta. And she stayed in the wheelchair. So using the device, looked into how to fix this problem, because it didn't seem reasonable that somebody just fell on the ice and is now crippled in a wheelchair for life.
Right.
And discovered there was emotional traumas and resentment towards somebody living in her house.
Mm.
And she had resentment about having to work a job she didn't like, working nights, etc. And so using the radionics to clear the stressor,
Mm.
allow the body to start healing itself, she had movement again. And
Because I can tell you, I've been going to life coaches and I've been dealing with these emotional traumas, and I want to get over it, but willingly, it wasn't so easily possible to get over those hurtful feelings. Or I was just trying to use different tools to just, quickly fix my life. But when you did radionics on me and I permitted you to do it, I didn't know which day you would do it. And that day I was praying my 5 prayers perfectly focused, did 2 hours in the gym. I was home. I vacuumed the whole house. The dinner was prepared. Children were set. My husband was dealing with their homeworks. And it was a perfect day. And at the end of the day, I was thinking, there's more energy. I can do more. And I started writing my blog, and I was like, wow. And that night, you sent me my report. So I was like, okay, so today was something different. Bismillah, like this is by the will of God that it happened. I was trying my best to do other things, didn't work out. So people think like my sister is another, oh, where did you go? Was that a magician? Where did you go? What did he ask you? And I'm like, he's a normal guy. There's a science behind it. Not everything comes from magic and evil spirits and ghosts and spooky things. So I just want you to touch base a little bit for those skeptics out there. It's good to have critics though, but how would you answer this?
skeptics on if it works or not.
Like, what do you use and what's the science behind it? Like, um, why do you ask for some samples? Or,
So when you get somebody's sample for a witness, it's called, and that's
yeah.
what you. So there's an imprint of you, your body on this planet, and that's how we can work with agriculture, or houses, or water bodies, or whatever. Even giving good intentions to schools or what have you. Because there's a specific imprint, and once you dial into that, basically you're communicating at the subtle body energies level.
Mm.
So that's all there is to it, really. And actually, what was found after Abrams, another lady, Ruth Drowns, and there's a Delaware in Britain, because radionics became illegal in the United States at a certain point.
Mm.
And just like in Canada, also there was some halts to funding because there's big business involved. So this would be detrimental to petroleum.
Yeah, the revenues will go down, and the governments definitely don't want to fund in it. But then, what inspired you to explore and work with radionics? Was there a particular event or experience that really sparked your interest?
Yeah, growing up, when I left, I traveled all over Europe and Asia and North America. I had a very deep interest in different cultures. And one thing being Scandinavian, our culture was kind of decimated by certain religious sects.
Hmm.
I really resonated with ideas more with nature and animism and Taoism,
Mhm.
traditional Scandinavian and Germanic ideas. So in the travels, I learned more and more, and I started meeting really neat people. I was just born with that ability to talk to anybody, and people can be open, and started getting into uh, later on qigong and tai chi and exercises like that. And I
Right.
found how beneficial it was, and how how simple it was, and then learning the history. And it was, say in China during the Maoist Cultural Revolution,
Mhm.
the deep principles were watered out because that gives people the self-respect and ability to cope on their own without having daddy government or
Mhm.
other entities control them.
Yeah.
And through that, like I've always had a scientific background, so I enjoyed physics and learning about light and magnetism and electricity, and understanding that every cell has um, heat, light, sound,
Yeah.
electricity, and then magnetic energies. Those five principles. So that's what I was learning about, and funny enough, that's the teachings were going inside to understand yourself. And
Wow.
then you can cope with nature, because emotions are promoted as a good thing in the Western culture, say.
Yeah.
Whether it's television or sports athletes, they always emotion this, emotion that. But some of these um, cultural health and wellness ideas, the emotions, they drain your energy. So your chi will, if you're too emotional, too up here, you'll start leaking everywhere.
Yeah.
So going from there, and then just trying to figure out these five items that are in every cell. So coming up in consciousness,
Mm.
I got into I learned from some inventors in the Okanagan about light color therapies and
Mm.
sound therapies,
Right.
and they had also this radionics device, and that was the last thing on my mind.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere when electricity was discovered when they came up with Tesla heating coils.
Yeah, Tesla introduced different concepts to electricity usage. Uh,
Nikola.
Nikola Tesla, yeah, he's father of the AC alternating current.
Yeah, that was quite intriguing. And
So around this time of Tesla, there was Abrams and Steiner and a whole bunch of other men and women combining all these different sciences that were. Um, I can't say they're free because I don't believe any. There's always a metabolism of energy.
hmm,
One of my teachers, Soul Norwegian Man, told me this is one of the items that I think religious people may kind of get, but not really. That scares them.
yeah,
Energies are
I
there.
think they would get the idea if they are religious and scientific. So they would definitely understand it. And that's what my community is more interested in, to know the scientific background behind it. Like you said, that you also know stuff about chemotherapy and homeopathy and acupuncture, which everybody has so far accepted. And what not people know is, people do know art therapy and sound therapy, color therapy. Uh, Nobody really knows about radionics though and how it works.
Yeah,
So,
radionics is a cousin of homeopathy. It's in that
oh
relative,
wow.
and that's so those are homeopathic principles. And
Yeah.
then actually, that's one thing that's common with radionics is finding the exact homeopathic remedy for the individual. So you may have one category of disease,
Hmm.
Western medicine,
Hmm.
and I might have the same one, but we don't care about the symptoms. We don't care what you label it. So cancers, we care about the cause.
Right. And how to
So,
eradicate it, just focus on eradicating and how bad your body's working. So,
well, homeopathy will, or radionics, if there's four homeopathic or whatever, vitamin C, even four different kinds, and there's you and I, for instance,
mhm.
I could check and see, we'll need a different remedy probably. So I could see which one is more specific for you. And this is what happened. It was radionics in the 70s was accepted by the British Medical Association. So a
Oh,
doctor that knew about it
yeah.
uh, would not be in trouble for, say, sending you to see me.
Mm.
And the reason why more physicians never got into it is because they were so busy at work, because this takes some time. It's nothing but like they find about 2 out of 3 people can use a radionics device, and the device actually doesn't really do anything, funny enough. These
Oh,
are all intention. It's a when they, for instance, when they made it illegal in the United States, they changed the term to psychotronics instead of radionics.
yeah. So the
Uh,
intention
but,
of the client and the practitioner, both?
well, yeah. You say if you're a client, you might not know what I'm doing, but
Right.
that's why I ask people for permission because
Yeah.
I don't enter anybody's space. There's an idea that there's um, a bad karmic price to pay for that. So I can't just go to anybody and get their witness out of a picture and see what they're up to unless I want to
Mm.
kind of
What
leave
kind of
my
space do you really want to? Is it the aura, the energies, the I mean, as a layperson, how would you define that space? Like to a
Ju-
layperson.
well, back to like why I asked for permission.
Yeah,
And then the other thing I'll ask for is your cooperation.
right. Because
That's where the
even if you
intention comes in.
go,
You have to let it in.
right, even if you go to any hospitals, they would take your blood samples. They would take anything, saliva or anything to see what's going on, the chemical compositions and everything. But how do energies work here? How do you how does radionics work in mind, body, environment, and interactions of matter, energy, consciousness?
Yeah. So say there's different ideas on subtle bodies, but let's just say that there's five: the physical, emotional, mental, supramental, and the oneness. Um, Odic energy or chi or
Hmm,
tachyon energy scale or whatever you want to call it. So
right. Vital energy or life energy.
yeah,
Yeah.
so the vital energy is closer to the physical,
Okay.
and then there's another like the energy that would be called Odic or the chi prana of the universe.
Mm,
Now you could look at say the David Star, right? There's a triangle up and down. That has nothing to do with the Jewish state or anything.
mm,
That's an alchemical principle, and um, what we have in say common allopathic medicine,
mm-hmm.
bottom up design. So you
Right.
start with atoms, molecules, cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, and so forth, all the way up
Mm,
until you can't see whatever. So the spirit quite often is cut off.
right.
So that's going upwards, and then the triangle coming down would
Yeah.
be collapsing probabilities. So you're going up in consciousness in
Mm,
the allopathic way and coming down,
mm,
collapsing consciousness
mm,
in this other form, more spiritual one. So you accept the primary source being um, the oneness of the universe and all the way down through spirit. And then you get down into the elementals and atoms and subatomic particles. There's no reason, I believe a balanced person should look at both.
mm.
There are times where you need elementals in your body to build that physical body, but again, it'd be like what they say in a Taoist practice or a Norwegian animist idea of when you're looking at anything in nature, whether it's the human body or your fields or your forest, if there's a problem flower, you can cut the flower, no problem. That's easy. Like there's
Mhm.
qigong practitioners that could take a tumor out of you, no problem,
Mm.
especially breast cancer or cancers like that.
Yeah,
Now, if you don't take care of the cause, it
mm,
will be back in 9 months to a few years.
yeah,
So you have to take care of the root. That's the idea.
right.
Another thing is in those principles is everything is energy.
Yeah,
So what I was gonna bring forward earlier is like this old man told me, there's always energy everywhere.
right,
It's what your intention is what that energy is.
right.
So we can be pushed to make that all negative, or we could say, okay, that's positive. It's nothing to do with animal or human looking spirits. It's just where's the intention, and you can reformat that frequency or that rate.
Right.
Everything has a spirit.
Yeah.
So every flower, the minerals,
Mm.
humans, and So I guess it's kind of curious now to think about it is people are worried about spirits, yet they are a spirit. Unless you don't,
You know what interesting
unless
is
you're an
that,
atheist.
yeah, exactly. And coming from this Muslim Islamic background, and we believe the same thing. So there are so many things which I can relate. Like ruh is actually spirit, and every human has ruh. Even in the Quran, it says mountains will talk, and the everything can talk. Like our hands can talk, and then it's so interesting with the animist approach. And I was like, this is just right. It just matches what we were taught. And then when you talk about this energy, so we consider God as the healing energy or a source of healing for us. But sometimes we're so lost or we're so hurt and we're not focused that we can't even ask for the right healing energy. And that's where we need some tweaking. And we go to doctors, we go to people like something hit and miss. But it's just it's about getting your head clear and opening to different ideas, being an open-minded person and think about it. There is goodness in everything, and you can just it's up to you if you want to benefit from it. But I would want to ask about another question that is, are there any ethical considerations or challenges associated with the practice of radionics that practitioners should be aware of? So,
Uh, well, ask the permission thing is important.
yeah,
Um, I believe
yeah, and I think we discussed this.
the cooperation is important because you need to accept it. And radionics, yeah, it's. I could tell you some. There's some. I don't know if you want to share this with people or not, but um, using frequencies into medicines or music or uh, what do you call it, like art, like movies.
Hmm.
There is a lot of subtle energy disruptors in that, and people can use radionics. Obviously, like there's no, like I said, there's no good or bad.
Hmm.
No, there's energy,
Hmm.
and it's what you perceive as good or bad. So the ethics would be like anybody. Some people are into voodoo and curses and all that
Yeah,
magic,
there
black
are.
magic.
Yeah, yeah.
So people could use this to do that also.
Oh, okay.
And I believe that just with experience over the years, um, coming across some, not so nice people, uh,
Hmm.
they are aware of things like this, including the militaries and the governments.
Oh, yeah.
So um, this is one reason why radionics is banned. Like it's frowned upon by the military industrial complex of the United States, especially. It's not just about money. They're using this as they have a monopoly on this because most people don't. It's been um, not well communicated to the
Hmm.
average person over the last 120 years, 150 years. So there's no way for most people to combat the negative EMF waves, the negative thoughts and patterns and curses that are set out to people in music, modern day pop culture music,
Yes.
movies, you name it. Anybody that takes
Mass control and yeah.
COVID-19,
Yeah.
though there was like heavy psychic um, energies coming from military, and it was obviously always military. Like they use military terms like warp speed, and the branding is so
Yeah.
simple. Like they
Yeah.
know about mind control and things like that. Radionics can like you've experienced it just in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just
And that would probably also, because I trusted you, as somebody who would not harm me. So that kind of trust needs to be built between the client and the practitioner. And of course, if somebody doesn't trust you, why would they permit you to enter their space? So I think that's where it's your own
well, I could tell you,
situation.
I could tell you a secret.
Yeah.
It's not a secret, it's a teaching. There's 5 items that you need to release tension and act in a natural way.
Mm.
First is trust. So I'll explain a little bit of each. Trust, openness, love, gratitude, and then Chinese called Gongjing. So Jing, it's basically a high level of self-respect and respect, and what we call in Scandinavian
Self-esteem.
Unjo. So ultimate like joy and happiness made from your work and your work on yourself and the nature around you, not like some superficial joy of buying Louis Vuitton purse.
Perfect. You've taken all the names which were taught to me in my life coaching session. So this is amazing.
Yeah. So trust is the first, because you have to open up. Trust yourself first. So it kind of goes like a pendulum. So depending on how out of balance you are. So if you're way out here in the physical world, it'll be a lot longer to get the pendulum to come. But it's that's the allegories of darkness and all these like people scared of snakes for some reason, or any creepy crawly, because the allegory is you're going deep inside yourself. That's like accepting yourself. Everybody doesn't like the size of their nose or their height or some type of superficial thing. But once you've learned about yourself and have acceptance through all those 5 areas, you're free. That's what the freedom is. That's what heaven on earth is. Heaven is about
Joy.
accepting all the energies around you and seeing. So you cannot, like the humans don't want to, they don't trust anybody nowadays.
Oh, yes.
Everything is all cynical or skeptical and these negative thoughts. Yet, like I don't trust anybody, but I'll come online or some type of marketing for you to trust me.
Oh, yeah.
That's how crazy humans are.
Yeah.
Right
That's
now.
the play with psychology. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really creepy, and it's just we're getting to that point where disintegrating as human beings. I don't know.
Well, if you have trust, then you're not as likely to think about project out the negative. So when you're looking for trouble, you'll find it, they say, right?
Or
And
imagination, like Einstein said, imagination is more powerful than knowledge, and whatever you imagine, it will happen, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah. So people are right now skeptical of all the good things, but the bad things are easy to sell. And imagination is the preview of coming attractions. So the law of attraction, I guess. Approach the integration of radionics with other complementary or alternative healing modalities.
Like what?
Like there are so many other alternative healing modalities, using, I think, dowsing or something. Is it closer to radionics?
Dowsing, what would you say, is more ancient
Oh, okay.
practice of radionics. Yeah.
Okay.
So like the first recorded dowsing in our history was about 2500 BC in China. So yeah, dowsing it's basically the same thing in a lot of ways, and intention work.
So what really is dowsing? Is it the intuitiveness to just find out if there are water wells or something?
Some people use it for healing and spiritual cleansing and things like that.
Okay.
You can, with intention, you can communicate with the unseen, basically.
Oh, okay.
And they quite often use rods and pendulums. Some like old wise women, they don't need anything, just their hand.
Yeah. And women can be, because women, I feel their emotions they're emotionally so intelligent. Sometimes they just know something's happening with my child, the motherhood, and they just, the child cannot even talk. The babies don't even talk, but they communicate. So Yeah, I can understand all of that. Absolutely.
Well,
And
that's the problem because it's the more the masculine
yeah,
mindset of
yeah,
logic, and
yeah.
like I come from that, so it took me a long time to even get into radionics. Like I said, it started with the light sound that I seen physical results. It was amazing technologies, and this is something a little. It's not. It's not math. It's not. What's the word I'm looking for?
It took you time to.
Or yeah, it's less masculine and more of a feminine energy, intuitive,
Mm,
psychic. Um,
absolutely, we understand that. Yeah. I mean, looking at this kind of work, it's just amazing. Because a lot of, I'm sure the lay people out there, they don't really know what is chi, even I don't know, like qigong and shen, and I just looked up the translations, and they just said essence, vitality, and spirit. So we'll be losing our time here, but then in the next session we can discuss about these.
yeah, and then I'll like the alternative approaches working with radionics. You can look at things like gemotherapy, homeopathy, trace minerals, because you can look at the body and see what's needed or what's missing.
So the micronutrients and the yeah. Oh, perfect.
Well,
Yeah.
anything, macronutrients too, like it could see where your protein levels are. We work with meridians, so acupuncture points,
Right.
uh,
Meridians.
all
Yeah.
sorts of things. Aura fields, like chakra
Yeah.
cleansing,
Yeah.
uh, providing. It's a way to for me to send people also to professionals that have the skills and education that I don't have. So I could see like, yeah, you need a chiropractor, you need
Mm,
sort of that.
right. Osteopath or something.
Yeah,
Right.
or you need to go see if like go get further Western, uh,
Yeah.
go to an oncologist. Like,
Right.
looks like cancer's showing up. You can get a test. It doesn't mean you have to use chemotherapy,
Yeah.
but they could, that was the thing with the physicians. They don't have time. So if they use radionics, they could see exactly which medicine you need. Because they'll
Mm,
look up in the book and say, yeah, this one,
right.
your tonsils. But there's many options and they could check. Okay, so physicians or nutritionalists, any practitioners that could use radionics could see the remedy that's specific for your body. So that would save the patient, in many cases, a lot of pain and suffering. Because quite often there's many different remedies at the disposal of a doctor or physician, and they'll choose one that they think you need. So
Mm,
radionics, you could look at which one does your body need the most.
right.
And your physical remedies will work a lot quicker and save a lot of guessing games. That's why the British Medical Association, that was one reason that they um, recognized it as a therapy. See, in Canada and US, it isn't, so we don't know about it. But in Europe and Britain, there was a lot of research done, and it was accepted by the mainstream.
Yeah. And you said that there is another name for it in the US other than radionics,
The psychotronics.
psychotronics. And do they use any other energies than sometimes, I went to a chiropractor one time and he used a solar or I don't really remember the name of the
Oh,
vo-
scalar.
probably scalar energies. Um, and that was I don't know, what do you think about it?
Okay, so one thing, the device I use, the inventor based it on the immune system, and
Hmm.
he worked a lot with light and color therapy.
Hmm.
So where this is unique, Some of the wells I have different color, like infrared and blue light, etc. So you can deal with, hard body tissues to emotional, subtle bodies.
Mm.
And also light light, sound, electromagnetics, and heat are all involved in your cell, every cell in your body. So scalar is drawing in energy and could be the collapsing of consciousness, so to speak.
Okay.
Now, the radionics idea came from of this particular device I use. The inventor came from a more of a what you'd call the immune system basis. So we check for negative entities, blocks, switch polarities, non-harmonious frequencies, and then blocks and pains always. First, like every day that you work with somebody.
Yeah.
Now, the switch polarity is when the immune system is overwhelmed. Turn on. Because it needs, when the energy reserves are depleted in the physical body, the body knows what to do. But if it's overwhelmed with a constant problem somewhere in the body, it will turn off so that it doesn't deplete the whole rest of the body. And generally, it never turns on again.
So like the autoimmune diseases or people exposed to environmental poisons or all these. Yeah. But there's another concept of being possessed by entities. And this is very much believed by a lot of people in the Muslim community. So can radionics diagnose somebody who is possessed through black magic or some other?
Yeah. So when the first one we do is the negative one, it's called. So we use water vials of distilled water with the frequencies imprinted in the water. So it's a little bit different than any other radionics device. Now, that one was put first, and we always do that when we turn on, when we sit down and work with somebody. First thing we check is your general vitality, and then go to the negative one and start clearing that. We could see how much energy an entity is taking from you, basically. So if you have you could have a general vitality of say 100, and quite often a negative entity is 250, 300 in people. Like a lot of people are driven and vampired off also. Now that one's a general one because you look at curses, negative entities, negative thought projections.
Right.
So there's in that genre, a lot of people deal with negative entities a lot. Different religions or different spiritual practices, people are possessed and they need exorcists or whatever.
Yeah.
Now that's only half the story. The other half that most people don't talk about are the negative self-projections, the demons inside of you that you ignore.
Yeah.
So those cannot be released by exorcism because they're part of you. That's
what we want to train.
Yeah. But radionics can see that and can relieve those stressors. And you can go deeper into exactly where it comes from.
Right.
And then the locks was the next one that we do after the negative one. So we can see how locked in is it.
What are blockages? Like, how would you define blockages that?
We have locks and blocks.
Yeah.
So the locks are how deep basically in the tissues, if you're looking at how deep in your bones or is this these negative thoughts, projection, curses. So that's the lock. So it could be very easy. Can just ask with intention for that entity to leave.
Yeah.
They may not even know they're there harming you. So that's part of my job. And they could go. There could be a lock that's high, and then it takes a lot more work.
So this is locks.
That's the locks, and then I'll explain the lock.
Blockages are different. Okay.
So, okay, and then I'll go to the third one is called the switch polarities. So when your immune system turns off, or like that's how you can look at it with one terminology. The other one coming from like an acupuncturist or Chinese medicine is the meridian lines.
Yeah.
It's the electrical body.
Yeah.
And you have all these battery packs that are the organs and that are the whole system's all over your body. Now, when those turn off, because it's like a battery, when you drain a battery, the polarities switch. That's why there's no energy in those systems. And that's where the idea is, like, if you have high blood pressure, it's the kidney is weak, or eyesight is going down, your liver is probably turned off.
You're saying that's a temporary twitching with the device on, and when the device switches off, you're on your own.
Well, the radionics can help switch the polarity back on.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what scalar energy, they have different lasers some
Mhm.
practitioners use, and chiropractors and other therapists. They're doing the same thing, but they're using a laser instead of doing the radionics. But we do use different lights in the radionics well for switching polarities if they're really turned off. But that's basic physics, right? Of what happens to a battery when it depletes.
Yeah.
You switch and it'll no longer produce a charge. So as your charges go down in the body, then you start to see chronic disease. So you switch the polarity, turn the switch back on in the current, and your body will have the energy to create new cells, to create new tissues.
Regenerate and heal, replete. But is it where I'm just looking at it as a pharmacist, where antioxidants would come in, and then as a natural health practitioner, I would just say probably we can talk about grounding here, or I don't know, how would you define as the negative radicals in the body to be a cause of diseases, and how does radionics can work on it?
So if you have heavy metal toxicity or chemical toxicity, radionics can see exactly what the highest stressors are.
Mm.
And there's hundreds and thousands of rates that can be looked at. So that's one way radionics can help a overburdened body.
Somebody, and they said that the daughter got her autoimmune diseases, and there's no way she can come out of it. There's doctors have given up, and she has to take certain immunosuppressants for the rest of her life. And I was like, I don't want to believe in if anybody who tells you that you've got no hope and death is waiting for you. I mean, unless there are other ways out, like complementary medicine and alternate healing therapies, where people have hope. And I was pulling them towards radionics and other healing therapies, but I guess they were not willing though. How would you respond to somebody who has autoimmune disease and their organs are self-killing them in a general way?
But yeah, there's so many things to do at that point. And this is like it happens in children now.
Yeah.
So for radionics, so turning the immune system back on and seeing exactly where the body can't cope anymore.
Yeah.
And then you can get very precise with what the body needs. You could switch the polarity, turn the electrical circuits back on. There's many different mechanical ways to help the body, but so with radionics, we'll get to the bottom of things, exactly what the body needs, and with experience and training in the medical field, you can know all these other remedies. So good grounding could be good. Probably what I find is it takes a lot of change of consciousness and physical and mental health. So going back to trust, why that's number one is people don't trust that the body knows what to do. So they go to the doctor, the parents tell you you're screwed for the rest of your life. There's nothing you can do. They give up because their consciousness is so low that they can't, and they have no trust. They don't know I don't know, it's frustrating to talk about stuff like this when it's children, but radionics starts with switching the polarities, the body, turning a immune system back on in a healthy fashion.
Right.
Now, with gemotherapy, that's plant stem cells. Those are great for opening up drainage points to get toxins out, because people be trying to clean their body quite often. And there's a lot of practitioners that go out and talk a lot about detoxing.
Yeah.
A few of them know what an emunctory is, and that you have to open the drainage points before you start shaking
Exactly.
the
Yeah. And detoxing is not just sipping lime water with mint. It's a whole protocol to follow. Yeah.
Well, so there's gemotherapy, homeopathy. Between homeopathy and cell salts or mineral salts, I don't know why more people don't at least try that when they're, especially when their back's against the wall, right? Like there's nothing dangerous in any of those therapies.
Yeah.
So then proper nutrition.
Yeah.
I look at for everybody is gut biome health, which is basically destroyed for many different reasons. Opening drainage points, creating the building blocks for your electrical system. So different electrolytes. That's why the one thing I don't sell really anything to clients. I let them, with the whole list of things, go and purchase whatever brand or company you like. I can give you recommendations, but with the humic and fulvic acid,
Right.
why I use that, because it works with so many different problems in the body, and it's natural. It's what's missing.
It's a whole lifestyle change. It's like looking at a whole person, a holistic view. And another thing that's quite intriguing is, which we're never taught in school, is the fourth water phase, the gel phase, in which the cells really exist. And if we look at a cell with the gel phase of water and the properties of water in itself, and water is living. So this in itself is like,
It's not always living though. That's the problem.
Yeah. I think it's another topic. I just took another tangent. But if you want to share something about it, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the exclusion zone water, plasma water.
Mm.
And so I do a lot of work with water, like structured water, Brown's gas in water. That's probably what pushed me over the edge to even get started with radionics, was the use of water in the radionics machine, which is unlike any other device I've ever seen. And the intention in water, but water isn't all living. So when we talk about feng shui, I'll discuss more about aquifer waters and how it can destroy your health, and how radionics can possibly help with that. But when you have water that's taken into say municipal water treatment plants, it is at least dead. It's attacked with chemicals. So we'll look at, and this is part of my culture of looking at everything as energy and having a spirit. And the self-respect part is when you respect yourself and you have love and gratitude and all the other components, now you see everything is living, and you respect the creepy crawlies in the dirt, because you know that without them, you would not be able to survive. You would not have nutrition, all the plants and animals. Yeah. But water in specific will go into these water treatment plants, have the chemicals, then we'll think, oh, the chemicals are in us, so we have to treat us. Very few people think, what can we do for the water? That's making us sick. It's stagnant. It has negative chemicals in it, byproduct chemicals.
Industrial waste, mercury.
God knows God knows what intentions have been put into that water. Because anybody that creates that system, I would not put it past them to do other things psychically or what have you. But maybe that's going a little too far for people, but there's no doubt about it. You see like Emoto's work and what have you and it is what it is. Like, I take that stuff with a grain of salt in a way too, but you have certain intentions and it's beautiful. and other intentions, and it's a very dark geometry.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
plasma water also is what is in your body and joints. So if you have easy exclusion zone water, that's one way to help joint pain and what have you. Because with the EMF poisoning that we're all bathed in because of what we think is necessary for society,
Yeah.
what it's doing is changing the polarity again of the water in your joints. And it no longer has that negative charge. It has a positive charge. So you're going into the water phase instead of the plasma phase, which is more like, say, for a visual for people, Jello. And that's so your bones don't
Yeah.
grind each other and cause the pain.
Yeah.
So that's why that's important. And that's why chronic diseases like arthritis are
Yeah.
so prevalent. There's other things like most people aren't taught about posture and how important that is. It's taken for granted and what have you. But yeah, the fourth phase water is very important.
Perfect. I don't know there if you have time and we can go off another tangent. Is the intent with which we drink water is what's that? There's something I saw with Raymond Grace, and he was called by a farmer who accidentally sprayed Roundup in the whole field, and the plants were dying, and it could just kill not the weeds and the actual farm and the plants itself. And what he did was just imagining converting Roundup into a pesticide, and they ended up just dying of the weeds, and the plants survived. So this was his own imagination or the waves he created. I don't know how it works though, but could we change a drinking water if we just intended that this is clean for us and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And like the one thing with getting into certain sciences and arts like this is you meet a lot of neat people and there's always experimentation. So whether you're making, say, simple breads or biscuits with different intentions and trying
Mhm.
them as a group and having like many people do it. So you start to see if it's just my skill of baking or not.
Right.
Water too. And can we make this taste in a certain way?
Oh yeah.
Quite often like a sweetness level. And it one way or the other it works.
Yeah, because I was at a point where I was using the analemma wand to structure my water, and then somehow now I cannot do it every time. So I've come back to just, I just pray on my water. I just say Bismillah, I take the name of God and I just drink it. It's just
Yeah.
trust water. Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
it's not just water, it's anything that used to be a common practice is having a prayer before you eat. And if you want, actually, I'll tell you this about fourth phase water and hydration. Like when you're dehydrated, a lot of people are dehydrated extremely. And that's where a lot of chronic illness comes from. Water isn't going to hydrate you anymore.
really?
Like, yeah, like tap water, distilled water, whatever. You need structured water. So living vital water, and that's what the plants do.
Yeah. And the
So
etiquettes of drinking water, I think that not just, drinking it in a bulk, just sips.
yeah,
Yeah.
you need either structured water or what's in properly grown fruits and vegetables. The plant is structuring the water. So it's
Right.
living and now your cells can take it in.
Right.
And part of it is the release of tension of the water, surface tension. So that's how it can that's why also another issue is deuterium.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's a hydrogen with a neutron. So
Yeah.
it's so large that there's one cause of physical blockage. So that could be in out of season fruits and vegetables. Deuterium is increasing in our environment, the
Mm-hmm.
parts per million. So it's a phase of the planet's life cycle also that we're having some of these issues. But yeah, structured water is very important, and one of the best ways to get it is in fresh local fruit.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So going back to our topic, um, I think, would you like to discuss any researches or developments in the field of radionics that excite you?
Well, currently, a group of us is working on subatomic particle work on the body, and we're seeing some crazy jumps in general vitality and other areas of the body. And
Mhm.
it takes a lot of work with one person to do that. There's so many rates, and every time you use a rate, you're collapsing um, probabilities of what will happen. That's one part of the quantum physics of radionics. So, anyways, that's ongoing. So I'll know maybe by next year more on that.
Okay.
What I see now is pretty interesting, but I don't even know how to communicate it at this point. So I'll need more time.
Mm.
Uh,
So, shall we go on the next question then? What role does intention play in the effectiveness of radionic treatments? I think we discussed this, but if you want to elaborate it a little bit, how would you cultivate and focus intention in your practice?
a radionics device basically is, you can look at it as a magnifier of manifestation or intention. Some of the um, dynamics of how these devices are built baffle the average electrician or uh, person in physics, but they always see, especially people in different physics, machine is good for his intention. Yeah,
Quantum physics? Hmm.
there's I have numerous books and papers from different types of physics, especially the quantum physics type minds. And then they start to understand how homeopathy and radionics works, and intention and prayer and all these items that actually I could say one thing I learned was, but I haven't looked too deep into it. That's why I don't say it too often. Is radionics ideas came from the ancient Egyptians.
Mhm. Interesting. Wow.
Our radionics device too. One thing that really intrigued me was the work with the ley lines, and that could get into scalar energies, and two waveforms coming at a 90-degree angle are healthy. And there's a vortexing, which goes back to the ideas of natural structured water.
Yeah.
It's Schoberger, it's the vortexing of water.
Yeah.
And there's a clockwise positive healthy energy. That's where a lot of the like the Great Pyramids and what have you, where people go for centuries or thousands of years for good energy and healing.
Yeah.
That's on those ley lines. And then there's also negative ones that go in a counterclockwise area, and that's where people can often get sick, depleted vitality.
Right. And I think what I heard of, if I remember correctly, yes, that Dr. Tom Cobbin, he has his own vortexing water machine in his house. So that's what he's been using. And yeah, it's quite interesting.
Well,
Um,
I have a vortexing, like a structured water unit that I work with from the US.
okay.
And the uniqueness about this particular company is they have certain minerals that they have a patent for. There's only a couple of mines in the world that get a particular um, energetic mineral that is put in with other minerals and specially cut crystals into the water structuring unit.
Mhm.
That's surgical steel, and it has an extremely high resistance rate going through. So it imprints those energies into your water while it's vortexing.
Mhm. So interesting. Wow.
And that's what I like. What I would like to see is municipalities and cities use structured water for their water
Absolutely.
plants.
Yes.
And that would, you want to talk about, hospitalizations and overburdening the system. That healthy water will help people's health overnight.
Right. We need less hospitals and less patients, not more hospitals and more patients. But let's come back to our topic. And how do you address the issue of scientific validation and evidence-based support for radionics in a world that often values empirical evidence? Wants experiments and, observation and information, and they want data, scientific data, and yeah,
In radionics in particular, well, anything in life, if you look at, you can be skeptical, but if you're cynical, you're finished, right?
right,
On anything. And you can look nowadays at studies and statistics and how they're all manipulated, the data. So what in your life works? Just do things work?
observation.
Yeah, and you observe it. Now, when it comes to radionics, it's not like there hasn't been a lot of experiments done in the past. So I don't even know what to tell people, but if I'm dealing with somebody that's not open to something, I move on.
Right. And then that trust issue just comes in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have no ego involved to push this on anybody or anything for that matter. I could plant seeds and maybe you'll come back to it at some time when you need it, and that's good enough for me. But like I said, there's a lot of evidence that's been accepted in different parts of the world for decades and decades. It's at the end of the day, it's a consciousness area.
A legendary mindset.
If your consciousness is low, you can't accept this, and that's part of like the trust and openness and love aspect. If people want to like limit their possibilities,
Yeah.
it's fine.
And we cannot really change their mindset if they have a fixed mindset, and they have it.
One of the there is an experiment. Well, it's an experiment. These are called experiments. They're not treatments.
Yeah.
But there's a lady that had cancer, and this is one of the famous test cases of radionics. She had no allopathic doctor could help her. He had 3 months to live, and that was it. So that's why she was allowed to be studied with radionics. She wanted to do that. She didn't want to do chemotherapy again. She already went down that lonesome highway a few years prior.
Right.
And she's completely written off.
See?
So go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And she's still alive.
I lost a relative recently, just a month ago, and I shared with them my YouTube video on the alternate therapies of cancer. And well, the aunt has passed away, but the daughters, they replied me, we wish we knew this earlier. Because when the doctors told them that they don't have time, they believed in it, that she doesn't have time. The belief system is so strong on doctors, what the doctors say, but anyhow, let's come back to our topic. So are there any specific conditions or situations where you believe radionics may be particularly effective? And are there any limitations to its application?
It can help in almost anything outside of like, it's not something you're going to use if you're in a car accident or those type of
Traumas?
those traumas. Not, you need to go to emergency and
Yeah.
have that type of stuff done. But it can work with recovery, no problem.
Yeah, so the mental trauma is different than the physical one. So for the physical, you would definitely go and have fracture healing, or
Yeah, like in the beginning, you go and set your bone to heal, but you can use it as a therapy after.
And even the doctors, they leave the bone for itself to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. So are there any limitations for its application?
Not that I know of, no.
Wow.
Well, but I will say, like, not if somebody it's not going to work all the time for everybody.
Depending on.
It's like any practitioner of any type of therapy, it's not going to work 100% of the time, because there's, like, for me, if I don't feel like I can help you, I'm not going to charge you. I'm not going to lead you on. I can recommend you to a practitioner that is better at something that you do need.
Right.
So there's part of that,
Yeah.
the skill and the how you can work with somebody, but also there's no silver bullet in life.
There isn't. Yeah.
Why I really like radionics is it could start dealing with mental and emotional issues,
Yeah.
because you can look at,
I can personally say it helps. Yes.
like, I have, if you have any type of issue, I look at a metaphysical, a list of metaphysical causes to that, and discuss that with a client, and usually they'll open up right away. It could be something they never even thought of. It just had to be brought to their attention, and then quite often they feel better as soon as the appointment's over. I get so many comments, "Oh, I feel better already." They're not taking any vitamins or Rolfing or Qigong practices, nothing. They just feel better because they can release that. And that's part of the healing process. Like you said, that's taking care of the root of the problem, not just the flower that came.
Yeah.
And
my sister, she was saying, "Oh, this could be a placebo effect." I said, "No, I didn't even know he's working on me that day. He just told me he's gonna start, but I didn't know."
yeah, and actually, I've heard over the years a lot of things about placebo. I don't care if it's placebo. Who cares?
Exactly. I was happy that.
You got, yeah. See that your example, it isn't placebo, because you don't know and I never tell anyone when I start or what have you. For that reason.
Was one moment, one day when I was thinking, my head was clear and I was thinking like a neurotypical person, and I thought, okay, so that's how a normal brain, a normal person with normal feelings going on would spend his day. And that was amazing. Like, yeah.
Well, with radionics, these type of deep-rooted issues, the energies that are inside of people and stuck and stagnated, we can work at relieving those. And then the work is up to the person during that. Now you're releasing the stress, and your body's communicating, whether you know it or not, and it starts to open like the flower, blossoming flower.
Absolutely. And people then
There's a
start
mindset, like your sister or whoever could be placebo. It's like almost like a negative connotation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's the human condition. Most people's minds, that's where it'll all come back to intention, right? And if you live in a house, like say years ago, everyone's put in their house, maybe it's dirty and scary in there. And outside, like I was living in the mountains, and I'm walking around, people are scared or they're in their homes. It's like a ghost town in a mountain village. Life is abundant and going on everywhere. But the mindset people were put into their houses, the lights were off usually, and it's just a complete mindset. And that was a collective consciousness event. On like an individual level, most people's minds automatically go to what can go wrong. So why don't you go do this? You want to do it? Yeah, but I need money, but I need this, but I need that. Or that's just placebo. Okay, so what?
Yeah, exactly.
But do you feel better or not? Like, what was your point of being here? Was your point to get a prescription of some chemical that you don't even know what it is?
Absolutely. But a lot of side effects. Most of the antidepressants are you just sleep.
Do you know how vitamins got named?
No.
So you got B vitamin, C vitamin,
Yeah.
B hormone, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it was through basically this type of like what Abrams are doing with rates and energy. So if there's groups of people that had different symptoms and pathologies, and they were given different plant medicines.
Oh, right.
And what is in that plant is a vibration of like group A,
Right.
B, group C. That's how they named
Because
it.
the history of vitamin C is scurvy in sailors on the boat, and they were given lemons, and then that was
Yeah,
it.
that's named vitamin C. It hasn't, there's
Yeah,
no, like, it's not like a periodic table or anything where it goes by molecular weights. It's just, that's what it was named after. So
absolutely.
I don't know, like there's a lot of questions in this industry.
Difference between placebo and nocebo.
So yeah, the placebo is thinking something's going to work, so it does, which it quite often does, statistically.
Mhm.
And nocebo is believing something will go wrong, which
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
So if you believe that, that's why it's dangerous to tell people they have cancer or this mental disease or this
The
that
life
one.
shortening, yeah.
Now they have it and they'll tell themselves, like, I have cancer. And some people, if you didn't get to know them through the intake, and like I spend a lot of time on that, but most people in like hospitals in Canada or what have you, those doctors aren't bad. They don't have the time to do it. It's a business.
Right.
So if I tell you you have something and you're in a certain mental or emotional state, that will really damage you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So that's why it's better to deal with the cause. Don't label things. Anybody that I learned from over the years,
Yeah.
whether they were Western doctors,
Yeah.
detox specialists, or more of the the old medicine men, you never label anything. And we started, like, what I learned from the medicine men were to start from the spirit and collapse the consciousness, because once your spirit's open, your body can take over from there, is kind of the concept. It's easier said than done, though.
Mm.
Some people are so locked in that, anything that
Yeah, they don't
I
have control on their thoughts and a lot of things. Yeah.
see, modern medicine and we like the pills that people get or the chemicals,
Yeah.
quite often they're just petroleum based. They're adding the frequency in of the plant or mineral that helps. Like, so aspirin is kind of named after the aspen tree.
Yeah.
But it's put into a petroleum based product, the frequency. So it does work in a lot of things, but it doesn't work totally in